Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hello.
Hello, we're back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob and, of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
Elena, I just finished reading 50 Shades of Nerd, and now my calculator's feeling muy caliente.
Oh my gosh. That one had me nervous for a second. Okay. This week I read Make Ads Skippable or Not: The Impact of Ad Type on Brand Recall, Salience, and Conversion Rate. This was published earlier this year by Radka Barova and Veronika Kopriova from the Sicilian University in the Czech Republic. This study dives into the difference between skippable and non-skippable ads and how that choice can change the way people remember, feel about, and buy from your brand. But before I get into the paper, Rob, what do you think leads to more effective advertising? If you force viewers to watch your entire ad or you let them skip after, say, 5 seconds?
Okay, so this sort of feels like a trick question, because in terms of immediate response, you don't want someone to skip your ad because they're not going to be able to go and respond to whatever value proposition you're doing in the moment. But I have to think in the long term, perhaps someone has a positive association with your brand because it's like, hey, you don't have to stick with us if you don't want to. So I feel like it's a trick question, Elena.
I should add, this feels like an important caveat I should have added. This study, it's looking at giving them the option to skip, but they're looking at people who watched the ads.
Got it. So they didn't skip it. They watched the whole thing.
Yes, it's just in one you had an option and one you didn't.
God, I think that viewers like a brand more if they're offered the skip button. That's just my it just seems like a very polite gesture for the brand to offer, like, hey, we're pretty cool, but if you don't want to hang out with us, here's a skip button.
Yeah, we're going to get into a couple. They looked at a few different areas, looked at brand recall, brand salience, and conversion rate, but I'd say that general sentiment is correct. And I would feel that way too. Like sometimes when you're really not in the mood for an ad and you don't have that skip button, you're like, oh man, that can be pretty frustrating.
You better be a good ad if you're going to make me watch you.
Exactly. So here's how they conducted this study. They ran an experiment with Gen Z participants, and they used eye tracking to see where their attention went when they were watching either skippable or non-skippable YouTube-style video ads, which is probably what most of us think of when we think of skippable and non-skippable ads. Then the participants were asked to buy products online in categories like food, household goods, and travel, so the team could measure recall and purchase behavior. So not a perfect study, because it's all in the lab, but still interesting. Participants were split into 3 groups. One who saw the skippable ads, so that's the kind you can skip after 5 seconds. Another who saw the non-skippable ads, and then a control group with a mix of both. Then they measured how many brands participants remembered, how salient those brands were, so basically how easily they came to mind in real purchase situations, and then whether those brands influenced what people actually chose to buy later. So Rob, you had to guess, which group do you think remembered the most brands? The skippable group, or the non-skippable group, or this mix of people?
God, I just feel like I'm going to totally say the wrong thing here, but I'm just going to go with my logical brain here, which is going to be wrong, and say that if it didn't offer the skip button, you were more likely to remember the brand, because I'm not being given a choice for my brain to be thinking about. I got the skip button here. Should I skip or should I keep watching? Like it's just causing mental friction. I don't know, Elena, tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong, but
I figured.
there's nuance to it. So when the participants had the option to skip ads, they did remember more brands. However, non-skippable ads scored higher in brand salience. So you're kind of right and wrong. So maybe people didn't recall the ads immediately, but those brands stuck in their memory longer. They came up during later purchase decisions. So basically,
if it had the skip button in it.
So in the short term, skippable ads won on recall, but in the long term, non-skippable ads win on salience.
Oh, there we go.
Does that make sense? So
it does.
So you were right in the long term, like in buying situations. They also looked at conversions. So they tracked what people actually bought afterwards, and they found that conversion rates were slightly higher for, do you want to guess? What do you think? Which group do you think bought more stuff? Skippable or non-skippable?
I'm just going to stick with my answer and say the one that didn't have the skip button in it.
You're wrong. It's skippable.
Damn.
I would have thought the same thing, though. And the theory was maybe these viewers felt more positively towards the brands and less forced, which was your thought earlier. But the margin was small. So I'm thinking we probably can't really count on that for anything. Honestly, after reading this study, if I were a brand, I would just test both, is probably how I would handle this. However, they did find another thing that I thought was kind of interesting. They called it the area of interest effect. So eye tracking showed that in skippable ads, viewers spent a ton of time staring at the skip ad button. So it became like this gravitational force, which is what you were talking about earlier. You think that would have affected things. However, it did. So in certain cases, if the skip button caused too much of that area of interest effect, recall dropped for those specific ads. So the ads that performed best were the ones that grabbed attention right away, with humor, surprise, or emotional appeal before that 5-second mark even hit. So I think that'd be really interesting to look at. There are some results that there are some ads where if it's not interesting or engaging and there's a skip button, it becomes a real hindrance to the advertisement. But if it's an interesting ad, people will pay attention.
Questions.
No, I'm
This
not going
is
to be able to
so
answer them.
good.
Okay. So some takeaways.
Yes.
First, front load your brand. This is something we would agree with 100%. Don't save your logo or key message for the end of your ad. If 60% of people are going to skip at 5 seconds, make sure you've delivered value before they do. Use emotion to stop the scroll. The study found that ads using humor or strong emotional cues reduced skipping and increased recall. Then pick your goal if it's long-term brand building and salience. According to the study, non-skippable wins. And avoid ad blindness. So repetition and clutter can desensitize your audience. Both ad types work better with entertaining creative, not just more frequency. So overall, I would say, you know what matters more than this decision? How good your ad is. However, if I were a marketer, I would probably test both, but quickly for Rob GPT. Think of skippable and non-skippable ads like two gears in the same machine. Skippable ads grab quick attention, but non-skippable ads build familiarity over time, perfect for staying power. The smartest brands don't pick a gear. They shift between both to keep momentum.
I don't expect you to have this answer, but I'm wondering if it did say in the study at all, if the actual ad they used in all of the different groups was the same. Because could the ad unit itself and how it was presented influence at all? A bad example would be like, what if you put your logo next to the skip button? If everyone's looking at the heat map with the skip button, then why wouldn't you place your logo more in that area?
Yes. To answer your question first, the skippable and non-skippable people saw the same ads. So they didn't change the ads. They just had a skip button for one group and they didn't have one for the other.
Same ad.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Kind of interesting, though.
This is really interesting. It just makes you want to try a lot of different tests, right? To just play around with the locations. I mean, this is obviously what folks do in that channel, is they're always evaluating best ways to use the skip button, the colors, the location of the storyline to when the skip button comes up. It's just a lot of interesting variables.
I should also add, when I was looking for that answer, I found that I was wrong at the beginning when I said, they have to watch them. That's not true. They could skip them in the group where they had like skip as an option.
Okay.
They weren't forced to just watch it the whole time. But I would think in an experiment, you might feel more pressure to just watch the ad the whole time.
Right.
But that's just my assumption. So I should clarify.
Yeah, totally.
Because that seems important.
Absolutely. You would go, I'm not skipping it because they're telling me to watch this.
Yeah. But super cool. And that's something I've always thought the opposite. Like I was like you, I always thought it's better to have non-skippable. That's even what I've heard. Experiment's interesting. I would still A/B test it.
Yeah.
That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
I completely read this question wrong.
How'd you read it?
I will answer this, but
Okay.
Well, I'm just gonna answer this the way I prepared for it, and you can tell me if this hits the bill. So, okay.
Marketing Architects.